everybody. Welcome to the Angela Anderson Show, where we are helping moms live their dream while taking care of their family. I'm so glad you are here today. I actually have a really great topic that I want to talk to you about today, and it's what I've learned from scuba diving. What I've learned from scuba diving. So before we get to that, let's go to a quick commercial. And then when we come back, we're going to get right into that. If you are looking for a devotional that is down to earth, lighthearted, and just something that you want to feel good when you read it, Just When I Thought I Knew God is the book for you. It's a 40-day devotional, and it's a journal. It has an area of lines directly after the devotional where you can write notes after each daily devotional. And you can also record when your prayers have been answered, whether it's in the future, whether it's immediately, but it's something that you might want to take or keep track of. You can do that right there next to the devotional that you've read for the day. It makes a great gift for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, or for that mom in your life. And Mother's Day is coming up. It's available now on Amazon, and it's also available in Kindle format. Although the hard copy or the softbound copy, what you see there, is recommended since it is a journal. But purchase your copy today. All right, we're back. So before we went to commercial, I said that I wanted to talk to you about what I've learned from scuba diving. And first, let me put this out there. I've never been scuba diving. Just want to say that right there. And I'm not even a water type person. I really have no interest in actually trying scuba diving either. So you're probably wondering why I want to talk about it. But there is actually a lot to learn from scuba diving. And, I put it this way. I've read something about it, and I observed a few things about it. And it was around the time a friend of mine or an acquaintance told me that he got certified as a scuba diver. So I thought, that's interesting. But as I was reading about scuba diving, there are a lot of things that parallel a mom who is pursuing her dream while taking care of her family. And you might think, what could that be? What could that be? Well, let's dive in. So, when you are scuba diving, what I found out is they actually have something called the golden rule for scuba diving, the golden rule. And it's simply this: never hold your breath. Never hold your breath. You just keep breathing continuously and normally. And some of you might think, oh, well, that's not a big deal, or that's the easy thing to do. Well, apparently, if you are a beginner and you go on this venture of scuba diving, you might have a habit of, delaying your breathing, or you might have a habit of thinking because you're in the water that you should just hold your breath. But the golden rule is to breathe continuously. In other words, never stop, and normally, and never hold your breath. So what does that have to do with a mom who wants to live her dream while taking care of her family? If you are a mom and you are on the road to success, don't quit. Never stop. Now, I didn't say that you couldn't take a break. We're going to get into that later. But don't quit. You just continue normally, even if it's little by little. And just like the scuba divers' rule of thumb or golden rule, you never stop breathing, even though that might be the impulse. You never quit. That might be your impulse, because it might get a little hard. It might get a little scary. It might even get a little claustrophobic. I don't know. I've never been scuba diving, but I'm thinking it might be a little bit intimidating going down under the water like that. But whatever you do, as you're pursuing your dream, as you are going on the path, never quit. Another thing that I've learned from scuba diving is this. There's something called mask clearing. Now, you've seen a scuba diver and you know that they have that mask on. And of course, that's to keep the water out of your face while you go under. Well, sometimes, from what I understand, water gets in your mask, and the beginner who is learning how to scuba dive has to learn how to get the water out of the mask's airspace and put it back into the environment with the water without taking on more water, or even worse than that, ingesting the water through your nose. Ooh, that makes me cringe just thinking about it. But listen to what I just said for just a minute. Okay? When you clear your mask, you're taking on the water. It's getting in there. And there's a psychological aspect to this too, because you kind of want to panic, right? The water's coming in. You definitely don't want it to get in your nose. If you ingest water, the obvious will happen. It could lead to drowning or other complications, right? So you have to try to get that water out of your space and put it back to the water environment or the other space. So as a mom who is pursuing her dream, as a mom who is, how can I say, living her dream while taking care of her family, think about this for a moment. A lot of times we have the habit, and I say we because it's not everyone, but maybe you're a mom and you can relate to this. You're going along your way. You're doing what you want to do. You're pursuing your dream. You're following your goals, and you're taking the steps to achieve your goals, to make it all happen. And sometimes what happens is that you kind of take on too much. And not only are you underwater at this point, but now the water is seeping in to your airspace, and it's causing you to feel a little bit flustered, a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit, how can I say, maybe you're wondering if you should have even gone down this path. But let me tell you, just like the beginner who is scuba diving and they're learning to take the water and get it out of the airspace that's inside your mask, that's preventing you from breathing properly. In the same way, sometimes there are tasks, there are projects, assignments, sometimes not even having to do with our business, but maybe it's something that's personal. Maybe it's something that has to do with family. It could be anything. But sometimes we have to let those things go. It could be just one thing that will lighten the load to get out of your space so that way you can breathe. It could be several things. It could be just a matter of prioritizing, right? But basically, what's happening is you just have to breathe, as we said, normally. We have to breathe continuously, right? So as we keep going, it's important that we stop taking on more. Because sometimes, and I've done this before, you let go of a project or you let go of a task, and then you just fool yourself into thinking that you have all of this free time. And so the next person that comes to you and says, hey, I need you to help me with such and such, or hey, I think that you would be great at doing such and such, or you see something that you just want to try, and all of a sudden you just, again, you find yourself in the same position, taking on more, biting off more than you can chew. Stop taking on more. Instead, learn to take whatever that water is inside your mask that is clouding your vision, that is preventing you from, again, breathing, preventing you from doing what you need to do, and learn how to get that water out of your airspace and put it back into the environment from where it came. And again, the one thing that you definitely don't want to do is get that ingested in your nose, because you know water in your nose could lead to drowning, just like too many tasks could lead to you drowning, especially if you're already underwater. Stop taking on more. So, another thing that I learned, and again, this is just from observing scuba diving. What's interesting is that as I look at scuba diving and as I look at, I don't know, just the whole water thing, those of you who know me well, you know that I'm not really a water person. Don't get me wrong. You know, I grew up in New Jersey. I now live in Florida, and I love the beach. I love going to the beach. Matter of fact, I got married on the beach. It was at sunset. It was a beautiful experience with my husband. I like being on the beach more than I like actually getting into the water. Um, Give me a boat ride any day, a nice boat ride. I love being around the water. I love looking at the water. It's very peaceful, just nice. But I'm not really a water person. But again, this whole thing about the scuba diving, something caught my attention. And I really think this last point that I want to share with you, this is what caught my attention. So, there's a process that a scuba diver has to go through. And this is specifically on the ascension, okay? The ascension process, when the scuba diver is actually coming up from the dive. And maybe you've heard of this. It's called decompression. Decompression. Decompression, by definition, it's the restoration to atmospheric pressure of a person who has spent time under high pressure. Let me give you that again, and I have it right across the screen. The restoration to atmospheric pressure of a person who has spent time under high pressure. Mom, does that sound like you if you're a mom out there right now? We have to restore ourselves after we have been under pressure, especially for a long period of time, decompression. Have you ever heard anyone say, you know what, I just need to sit down and decompress? I just need to sit down and decompress. And what does that mean? It just means chill. That's all it means. And that can look many different ways for you, specifically, how you decompress. And that's a whole other show, actually. But spending time alone, just getting away from the kids for a minute, maybe even getting away from your spouse. And not that you don't love your kids and your spouse, you love them to death, give them hugs and kisses and then get away from them for a little bit. Everybody needs to decompress, right? It could also mean whatever you're working on. You might need to step away from it for a minute. Again, it's restoring yourself to, let's call it normalcy, right? Just restoring yourself after you have spent time under high pressure. Decompress. Now, let's talk about the diver who is decompressing. Okay. Now, as a diver is ascending, the diver has to make a series of stops during the ascent. They have to make a series of stops during the ascent. And this is part of the decompression process. Now, think about it, Mom. When you're living your dream, when you're pursuing your goals, and while you're taking care of your family, you have to make some stops. Now, it doesn't mean that you quit. It just means that sometimes you have to take some breaks in between, because it could be that it's a little bit too much. It could be that, you're losing air, you're losing sanity. A diver does it for a specific reason. And we also should do this, making a series of stops as we are climbing, as we are going, as we are ascending to our goal. Let me tell you what the stops are for. Each stop allows gas to move out of the tissues and back to the lungs. I'm not going to get into the whole scientific process here, but what's happening is actually almost a requirement. And when the scuba diver and they're breathing in, breathing out, again, what's happening is they're moving that gas that is accumulated in the tissues back into the lungs. It's necessary. It's necessary. And I'll tell you this, there are some consequences if you do not move that gas out of the tissues back into the lungs. So as you are pursuing your dream and you're rising to the top, you're taking breaks along the way. You have to. Now, mind you, between each stop, each decompression stop, the diver moves closer to the surface. Between each stop, now remember, you have to take these stops as you are getting to the top. The diver is moving closer to the surface, and it's actually helping the diver get there faster. It may feel like you're getting slower, but it's actually getting you there faster. Okay? As you're taking time as a mom to decompress, you move closer to your goal. Why? Because you're allowing yourself proper rest. You're allowing yourself the space that you need, the mental capacity, the emotional capacity, everything that works together in your body to get you to your goal. Now, I will tell you this: failure to decompress is damaging to the diver. It's painful. From what I've read, from what I've understood, it hurts. This whole thing about the pressure of the gas moving from tissues to the lungs, it can be life threatening. And let me tell you, ladies, I don't know if you've ever met anyone, or maybe you know of yourself, um, people who just crash, whether it's